Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another edition of the show. Stardate 2015.308 at 22:14 Eastern Standard Time. Tonight, we are joined by the richest Ferengi in all of the known Alpha Quadrant, Mr. Moneybags himself. Thank you very much for coming on the show at such a short notice.
I'm happy to be here, guys.
As usual, we are joined by our Chief Logistics Officer, Captain Timberwolf. Lead us off with a good howl, sir. Yeah, he killed his mic now. Our Chief Intelligence Officer, Captain Sarcasm Detector. I think he killed everything here. Well, Timber killed my mic, so I could barely hear anything here, but I'll be able to hear shortly. Our Chief Science Officer has left us some notes here, so I'll be able to read them on his behalf. And his wife, our Chief of Cheesy Tactics, has joined us here on his behalf as well.
Aww, isn't that
he
special?
loves it. He loves it so much. Oh, Chief Ironic Medic will be coming back here as soon as he's done with the UN, giving him the 3rd degree and then bandaging them for the 3rd degree burn. And our Chief Emergency Role-Playing Hologram has been activated with his own logistic circuitry. Please.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas?
I hear you have some...
Christmas?
Sorry, I hear you have some new footage coming out as well, too, right?
Wait, what? Footage of what? I did not have sexual relations with that hologram. I'm sticking with that story. Don't believe any video you see.
Too much information. I think, Odin, are you still there?
I'm still here. What's up?
Okay, you just went silent for a bit.
No problem. Can everybody still hear us out in chat land? We'll wait for the answer.
I just did a sound check on my browser, and it's looking good.
All right.
You might want to scroll your chat window down there, though. Click on the more comments below. There we go.
We have confirmed yeses from chat that they can hear us.
Sweet, sweet. All right, yeah, that howl just literally knocked my headset off completely, so I had to...
Oh, whatever.
It did! No, I kid you not. Halfway through, it just went, gone. So, let's see what's happening here. You know what? Let's just go straight to the money. So, please, Mr. Moneybags, I hear that you and Sarcasm Detector were cooking up a little scheme as far as trying to find out what was going on with these lockboxes.
I didn't have any part of this scheme, whatever it was. It was all Moneybags. For those of you who don't know, this is Moneybags of the Priority One Network, a old friend of mine from a bit back, and he actually made a interesting spreadsheet. And what it involves is he opened something like 4,000 Herald lockboxes and noted down in meticulous detail every single item that dropped. And I believe you also said that it wasn't just you who was opening boxes. You got information from a number of different people.
Correct. It's the collection of data from 8 people and 4,040 lockboxes, and it's pretty. I think it's pretty detailed. Obviously, we missed a few along the way, but I don't think statistically it should matter. I did a little bit of math, and I think the margin of error is about 5 or 6%. But when you're thinking about 5 or 6% based on the number of items, you could be talking about a 0.1 here or a 0.2 there, so it's not that significant of a margin of error. So the spreadsheet that I gave you is pretty accurate based on just the Herald lockboxes, the most recent. I have a little bit of data for some of the previous lockboxes, but mostly it's around some of the bigger items, not the the little stuff. But we can talk about it if you want to just go into the detail of it. I don't know if you have the spreadsheet on the live stream, but if you do, the thing that stands out the most is that the R&D pack drops at about 17 to 18% of the for in terms of the reward. The second most important detail, I think, is the kits, which is dropping at about 15 to 16%. And the reason that matters is because the kits are shit, and they don't sell well. They don't resell at all. The mods, because they're not very specialized, and you get lots of random mods. Typically, what happens is that you get a bunch of kits that you don't want, and now you're stuck selling stuff from a lockbox that you open. That's basically everybody's rejects. So the exchange gets flooded, and usually what happens is anybody who wants to get a kit gets it. But for the most part, you're paying 4 or 5 million ECA for a key, and you're getting a really crappy reward. And it's interesting because the modules are dropping at around 11%, so you're actually getting more kits than modules, which doesn't make any sense. Another note to this is that the weapons are dropping at around 19%, which is good because a lot of people want them. Unfortunately, that's the weapon type could be very random, and you never really get the beam array or perhaps the dual beam that you want. And then I think the thing that everybody was concentrating on is that in the past, most of the lockboxes have a drop rate of 1 in 250. That's been pretty standard for a while. It was a little better for some lockboxes, a little worse for others, and by that I mean it'd be, but by the numbers, it would come out to be like 1 in 230 or 1 in 270. But it was 1 in 250 has been a solid average for about 2.5 years. The Vomp, which is not a very good ship, the drop rate is 1 in 400, and that's been pretty consistent. So basically, you're getting a ship that's not all that great, and you're paying a whole lot more for it because it's going to require a whole lot more. It's going to require about 150 more lockbox keys on average. That's a bad ratio. But the QoS is also falling at a fairly consistent rate, 0.6. That averages out to not bad, considering it's basically relatively the same as some of the previous second-tier ships that you would get from a lockbox. And the QoS is better than most of the second-tier ships that you get from a lockbox. But when you think about what you're going to do in terms of getting a return on investment for lockbox, in the end, when you look at the Herald lockbox, it's by far the worst lockbox that Cryptic has produced in 2 years. And that's really disappointing because lockboxes have been so great for a while now. Particularly the Year of Hell lockbox. If you open the Year of Hell lockbox today as a Klingon, you are more likely to get a return on your key investment than you are if you open a Herald lockbox of any race. And that's disappointing.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at the QoS, and 25 out of 4,040 is roughly 1 in 160, roughly. So that's actually a little bit better than what you usually get for the other Grand Prize lockbox ships.
It is, but the QoS isn't necessarily the Grand Prize, is it? It's not a bad ship. It really isn't. It's a great ship, actually. It's better than the Bump. But
Agreed.
In terms of gameplay. But at the same time, it's like with all of the lockboxes that you see. I mean, I bought most of them in the past 10 days for the Admiralty system. I'm talking about the APU, the Malon, all of those second-tier ships. They're all really good, but the drop rate has always been about 0.6. So it's not like it's anything different than what we have seen in the past. It's about right, maybe a little higher, but not by much.
Well, those secondary ships were always tier 5 ships. You're talking about like the mirror ships, the Malon, the Nihydron destroyer, etc. Those were like booby prize ships.
Right, but we haven't had tier 6 that long either. Only through 2 lockboxes. So This is the third tier 6 ship, or is this the fourth?
I think the fourth maybe. Since Delta Rising, I mean, we started off with the Bentham, um, the
One in
Delta
20, which is 1 in 250.
1 in 250. No, the thing is that we didn't. It's not that the Quas is the booby prize ship. Is that we didn't get a booby prize ship in this lockbox.
Right. Well,
So,
yeah, you did. It's called the Vomp.
well, yeah, that is
It's the
something.
900 million EC booby prize, and because of the, I mean, obviously the value of it is to a collector, which means nothing to me, but there are people who are collectors of ships, and the value is that it's going to be a very rare ship for a lockbox, because the lockbox is terrible, and only an idiot is spending money on a key right now to open a Herald lockbox. I mean, really, you have to either be incredibly wealthy or incredibly ignorant, because there's no value to get in a Herald lockbox. Yeah, if you want to get Lobby, open a Year of Hell lockbox as a Klingon. You're almost certainly, if you get a trait, you're almost certainly going to get your money back.
There are better lockboxes to open, like you said. The Year of Hell one, the Ilachi lockbox is pretty good. The Temporal lockbox is also good, and I think both the Zindi Terrestrial and the Zindi Aquatic are also really good.
But
You know
at
what?
this point, almost
It's
all
all
of them.
Shi'ar.
Well, because the mirror ships are going for so much, you could open the really old lockboxes and get a hell of returns. I mean, if you open a mirror lockbox as a Klingon and you get the Mirror Vokuv right now, the Mirror Vokuv is the best science ship available in terms of not having to pay for the Zen score, or not having to buy a fleet key or something like that. Just to get in the Mirror Vokuv is the mirror carrier, one of the most obtainable and best science ships for the Admiralty system right now. It's going for about 10 mil or more. Those old lockboxes, because of the Admiralty system and because of the higher drop rates for those mirror ships, they have a lot of value right now.
Pretty much. We're going to be discussing the Herald ships in a few moments. But yeah, this is certainly a very interesting spreadsheet. I don't know. Do we have your permission to add this to the show notes when we publish them?
Yeah, that's fine. I think that it was. I know a couple of the guys that had given this stuff. I think that they intended it to be reposted. I'm going to use their numbers or just a first numbers, and I'm going to use it for a column and name them. But yeah, this is a collection of people. Some of them don't want to be named, some do. Feel free to share it. The only thing that, I mean, if you were going to make a recommendation to Cryptic, first, never make a lockbox that's terrible, because we love lockbox. I love lockboxes. It's a great event. It's like the circus comes to town, and you can make billions. I think everybody who opens lockboxes expects to, strike the lottery and have a great time doing it. It's a great event. But the real thing here is when they do these lockboxes that have ground equipment like kits, make the kits have really low chances. Make it so that the random mods on a kit are very slight, like specialize them. For example, say this kit is going to be for an engineers, it's going to be for the bomber guy. So you give it like 3 solid, hard-coded attributes or modifiers that are for the transphasics. Maybe they have high shields, and maybe they have some specialty based on the particular theme of the lockbox. And then it only has one random mod. But now every single player in the game who has an engineer that wants to do a bomb, they want that lockbox. And oh, by the way, if it's only got like a 1% drop rate, that kit, if you're a TAC player, you open a lockbox and you've got this engineer kit, that kit is worth 20, 30 mil. That's a big return. That's a huge win item. And that's the kind of thing that people want to see in lockboxes when you're stacking all these R&D bonuses and CXP bonuses and rep bonuses and all these other bonuses now that they got, VIP claims, whatever it is. That those little items that you get, they need to have some sort of value to the player. But when you're giving 15% of your rewards away as some shitty kit, I mean, come on. Nobody. If you ask me, the prediction I'll make is people are going to figure out real quick this lockbox sucks, and they're going to stop buying keys at such high values. I think they're selling for like $5 million earlier today. I looked at it; it was $5 million, which is ridiculous. No, and the next 2 months you're going to litter the galaxy with the Herald lockbox as a loot reward, which means you are littering the galaxy with a box of crap. So the value of keys is basically going to drop, and who's going to want to buy one when the only lockbox you can get is a box of crap? I think we'll see it. We will see the value of the key drop because people want to sell keys to make money, but no one's going to be buying keys to open a Herald lockbox. I would definitely open a Year of Hell lockbox as a Klingon or some of the older lockboxes, but I just don't see how this is going to make Cryptic a lot of money. There'll be that early surge like they always have for the first 2 weeks, and then this is going to just crash. And we'll know for sure because you'll see the lockbox key price drop.
Well, this one thing a couple of days ago, it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, keys hit 6.5 million on the exchange, and now they've dropped back below 5 million.
Whoa. 6 point what?
That's ridiculous.
6.5 million per key. That's just
brilliant, though.
That's absurd.
That's exactly what a lockbox event has become, though. It's become it's the center marketplace of the game. And it's great that it's doing that because it means the game is very healthy in terms of the revenue streams for Cryptic. But when they put out a shitty lockbox, man, we're going to be able to tell. You will be able to feel it across the economy of the game because everybody makes their EC right now by buying lockbox keys. And I could imagine that there's a ton of people out there that are thinking, oh man, Black Friday's coming, I'm going to be able to get a Zen sale, maybe like last year, and then I'll be able to get a key sale like last year. I'm just going to be able to load up and I'll be able to sell and make a fortune for my character. I mean, that's the way I was thinking about Black Friday. But now I'm thinking, crap, it's possible that the lockbox key is going to be worth, 3 or maybe even below 3 million for the first time in a while. And there's nothing that we're in the middle of a dilithium weekend about to come up. We're enjoying the best XP in the game. The Admiralty system has added a huge amount of other types of currency rewards and things of that nature. Black Friday might be a way for me to stock up, but it's going to be to stock up and wait. Oh, and by the way, the one thing that I really, really, really wanted to buy, which is this 3-ship set that comes out, is
I'm going to interrupt you here for a moment. We're going to get to that. We're going to address that, and we're going to definitely have your opinion on this one here. But before we open that can of worms, let us go to something that is related to this, because you were heading in that direction before we got side-railed with the ship purchases here. What do you think about this, with this type of economy that people are experiencing right now? Isn't it time that we have a lift in what the cap is for both what the players can hold as far as EC, as well as the cap on the exchange, and how much or how little we can actually put up items for sale?
There's a couple of different caps that you would want to address. The first cap you want to address is the 10 million cap, EC cap for free-to-play players. Because the way that the economy has, we'll call it inflation. It's not really inflation, but we'll call it inflation because the prices of everything has gone up. You would want to address that first because free-to-play players now can't afford items that used to be very affordable for a free-to-play player, like a ship upgrade, or not upgrade, but a fleet ship.
Or like a lockbox key. Like, God forbid, a free-to-play player who wants to, maybe... I've done a lot of missions. I've granted a lot of EC. I got 4 mil. I'd like to go buy a couple of keys, maybe get a shot at that big, awesome ship. Oh, wait, look, the keys have spiked to 6.8 mil. Excuse my language, but the prices of the keys, just what the fuck? It's just so stupid.
Agreed.
Well, the keys and everything else is a reflection of how much dilithium is in the game. I mean, I don't know why they would ever raise the cap for dilithium. If anything, it's probably too high at 8,000 now. One of the things that we've learned is that there is so much dilithium in this game, and there's so very few dilithium sinks that you have to really work not to earn 8,000 a day on your main character. It takes effort to not do it. You have to sit at Earth space dock and do nothing, because otherwise you're almost certainly earning it now in the DOF system. You're going to earn it in pretty good levels with the Admiralty system. Contraband market is as healthy as it's ever been. If there's one thing that you can count on, it's that even though there's only like 20 players in a sector, 5 to 10 of those players in every sector is a Klingon running around grabbing contraband on any given time. I think in all the stations, it's probably the busiest starbase in terms of people logging in and out in the game, and that includes our space dock, where people just stand around all day. It's incredible how much dilithium is in the game, and it's why the prices are high. And people are burning through it, and it doesn't matter because they're still able to accumulate it at such high rates. I'm not sure that you would raise the cap for dilithium.
I don't know. Maybe I'm in that little special snowflake category where I have like over a billion. Sorry, not a billion, but it's well over 1 million and change of ore. But as far as refined dill, I'm still running in, a couple 100,000 at max at any one point in time, because I'm always upgrading stuff. So,
but your own character.
Yeah, but I got one character that I play 90% of the time, and the other 3 kind of like I do something with it. I may doff a little bit. I might get 4,000 or 5,000 raw ore at any one point in time. If I play a couple missions with it, then I would have enough to refine for the full 8, and then I build an excess for a while, and then I go through that because I don't play them. I just refine.
Yeah, it's about economy philosophy for a player. So everybody who has a single character has an incredible, basically well of ore. They're never going to run dry. But the way to get wealthy in the game is to have multiple characters and all of them refining at 8,000 a day, because you can consolidate it to a single character on an account. And that's how you have people who are earning 100,000 dilithium a day refined
or more.
And now with the way the Admiralty system has fixed the biggest problem of 2015 that Star Trek Online has had, which is you have not had a way of progressing your alt characters. They really killed alts in the game when they took away the Fleet Mark bonus for Dilithium Weekend, because what the Fleet Mark bonus for Dilithium Weekend did is it saved players time. It forced players after that point to do hourlies in order to get decent returns for marks, and hourlies consume time when you have to do them across a bunch of characters. It really is a time waster. So the only way to really build wealth across accounts and without having to buy a bunch of Zen and be able to refine a lot of dilithium meant that you were going to do hourly reputation projects. And that's it. If you've ever done it for 6 reputation, 6 already, now it's 7, or no, I think it's 7 now with Iconian and 8 with the Terran Mirror, you're talking about a lot of time when you go through 8 or 9 characters. And the thing is that now that we have the Admiralty system that is able to progress all these other characters, you can log in, you can do contraband on on your characters once in the morning, and then do all your reputation stuff with the hourlies once in the morning, and then you can do the same thing at night, contraband for all your characters at night, and then hourlies once a time at night also. That's about 9,500 dilithium, and that doesn't even include other DOFs that you might be getting, or the Admiralty system, which you're getting dilithium from even when you're doing XP. So 11,000 a day unrefined across a bunch of characters, that's very easily done in the last 10 days. I just don't see that there's the economy right now we're flushed with everything.
Well, there's the that part, and then there's also the part of allegedly players going in and buying up the majority of, like, say, like a T5 low buy ship that was at a low price, and then reposting them all at like a significantly higher price. So there's those people too that are also affecting the exchange market, which kind of makes my eye twitch a little bit.
You're talking about people who are hoarding certain items on the exchange? Because I might be guilty of that. In fact, I know my friends are. I absolutely know. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at you, Phil. There are a lot of people I know that do that, and it's the same people. I mean, if you're one of the people who is buying and selling 100 million EC a day, which I do a lot, and or even more, you may spend 500 million EC a day and sell and buy. You know who everybody else is who's doing it because you see the same names who are buying and selling your item, or who are always buying from you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a handful of one percenters who like to corner markets because it's allowed to be. Cryptic kind of has enabled that. I don't know why we wouldn't. That's how the rich work. It's capitalism in stuff. It's just part of the game.
I disagree there. Capitalism implies that the market itself is self-regulating. So there is market forces that will control the prices. The price is is affected by supply and demand. It's not controlled by someone saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna make a little bit of money. I'm gonna buy all these Lobby ships off the exchange, and I'm going to mark them up 50% and put them back on the exchange." That isn't exactly a market force. That's just plain gouging.
But it really is, though, Cam, if you think about it, because it's easy enough to earn Lobby. All you got to do is open a lockbox. It's not like you're prevented from getting it right off of the market at the set value. It's just that you're prevented from getting it off the other market at the value that you would prefer to pay.
All right. Well, this brings me to the other topic. We actually just brushed aside it for a bit here, but in the past few months, we've seen a few ships drop that have gone over the exchange cap. So we're talking about the Cheshire and the Anoraks and the both copies of the Jem'Hadar strike ship, and now, for some odd reason, the Vaunt Dreadnought has dropped in there, and I'm really do not understand why it's approaching 1 billion, but we're seeing the prices of ships go through the roof. Now, I understand that the Admiralty system plays a part in that because people want to have ships. They want to fill up their Admiralty system. They want those ship cards. So, of course, the demand is going up for ships. Like you said yourself, even before the system came out, the prices of the mirror ships went from, like, what, 200,000, 250,000, up to 5 mil, and now they're between 10 and 15 mil for a mirror ship. Especially some of the older ships, which is, fantastic if you own a stockpile of those. But for the regular player, a free-to-play player, for example, who just started out at the game, we used to recommend these ships to new players. That the first time they get to level 40 or level 50, here, have a free mirror ship. They're like 200,000 EC on the exchange. There you go. Knock yourself out. It's a great ship to start off with at the end game. And now the price is way above what the free-to-play cap is.
Yeah, and I don't even think the Admiralty system really is the entire reason for these ships approaching the 1 billion price. Like, look a couple of years ago when they first released the temporal ships. Those were like the hottest ships to go out and get. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 2 years ago. And they were nowhere, like, I think they were trading on the exchange for, like, was it like 250 mil? I can't even remember.
No, back when the temporal box was out, the temporal science ship went all the way down to under 40 mil. I picked a few up at like 35 and discarded them, in fact, because they were so cheap. I just got them for the console.
Yeah. Well, let's say max 200 mil. We'll average it out with like the bug ship, even though the bug ship wasn't really a lockbox ship, was it? No. Well, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think the Admiralty system would account for the, let's say, 600 million increase in prices of ships that we're seeing to this day now. Like, there shouldn't be any reason why these Iconian ships are $1 billion. And good on anybody who's able to sell it at that price. Like, there's apparently really rich people out there, but $1 billion for a lockbox ship is a little crazy.
A little bit insane. All right. Well, there is a precedence for this. All right. The first ship that was over 500 million was the Jem'Hadar attack ship. Right. When it first came out, it was extremely rare, and it was a very limited time offer. It was basically, this is the only time you're gonna get it. So the price went, pretty much over 500 mil. And the problem is that it's inertia. People thought, well, all right, this is the regular price. This is what the price is for the limited time ship. And that inertia has stuck with it. And all the other limited time ships that came out. What ended up happening is the Jem'Hadar attack ship was re-released and then released again and then released again. They were basically throwing it out every 6 months. But the price never went down below 500 because people decided this is how much it cost, no matter what the supply was. Yes, there was more of the ship available, but, when you have more supply, the price should go down, right? Am I wrong on this? I'm not.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, Cam, the Jem'Hadar attack ship is a special case. It's also the very best Tier 5 ship. It was from the moment it was released until Tier 6 came out.
No, I disagree with you there.
Well,
it was...
for the player who is not as skilled as somebody advanced in the DPS league, it really made playing Stowe easy. I mean, it was very simple to deck it out in a way that made it incredibly powerful. That's what the value of the ship was. It wasn't simply rarity like the bomb. The bomb's value is in its rarity. The Jem'Hadar ship values in its rarity because it's very difficult to obtain in these time windows. But the other value of it is that it was actually great. It was easy for anybody, any player, to put a pretty decent load into it, and suddenly you were vastly superior than you used to be in terms of playing the content, which is all DPS driven.
Okay, I agree with you there. It was a really good ship, but in the last year before Delta Rising came out and the Tier 6 ships were released, there was a number of escorts released that were actually better than the Jem'Hadar attack ship by a fairly significant margin. I mean, what was it? The Contrortrix was really good. Spencer can probably back me up on this. There was also the Herodian. The Contrortrix, the Herodian, there was a one or two others that were released as well that flew circles around the Jem'Hadar attack ship.
Yeah, PvP-wise, when the Contortrix came out, most of the attack ship pilots I knew swapped to it. That extra 4 weapon just made it so much better.
So for that whole year, it was being outperformed, and it was still selling at over 500 mil. The price never went down. There was just the inertia there. Another example, the Bulwark when it came out. And I'm sorry for the people that like the Bulwark, but that is the worst dreadnought in the game. Hands down, it is even worse than the dreadnought than the Galaxy X. Before the fleet version was sent out. That's how bad it is.
In both cases, though, the ships also for the unlocks, like the...
Yes, well, I was getting to that. The only thing that really made the Bulwark good and expensive was that console, that Revive console, which was part of the 3 set with the Bastions console and the Palisades console. So yeah, basically it gave the feds an ability to have Battle Cloak if you ran all three consoles. So yes, that is a reason for the ship to be expensive. That ship was only released once. I don't think they ever released it again. Actually, I'm pretty sure they never released it again. It was only that one time. So what other ships did we get since then? We got the Cheshire, which has been released, three times now? Yeah, it was the first time, then there was a second time, and then there was the third time where they introduced the command variant as well. So that's not a limited time ship. And even the first time it was released, I could not see the ship costing more than 500 mil. I couldn't see it costing more than 400 mil. It wasn't that rare, and it did perform really well, but there are cheaper ships, cheaper cruisers and dreadnoughts that performed just as well as it did, and even better. The Narcine, for example.
If the exchange obviously the exchange cap, you can't put anything on the exchange that's over like a 500. So, I mean, think about what Cryptic is doing by ignoring this problem, and we've kind of discussed it among what we'll call them the Ferengi. Basically, there's a market now because Cryptic is sitting on their ass on this. You can build a site for trading, and by the way, it's not a very big leap for your site to include real money trading. You see what I'm saying? Because you can't support it in game with the mechanics right now. Their currency has basically burst out of their limitations. So how else are you going to legitimately trade items of high value in the game? Well, in the past, in other MMOs, the way that has worked is that somebody would build a site that would do barter services and broker those type of things. And usually you have to have down payments with money and things of that nature. I don't see why there isn't a market right now in STO when you're talking about items that cost, a billion EC in some cases. I mean, the bump at 900 million EC, that's a very short-lived thing. That ship's going to drop. But some of these other ships are very difficult to obtain, particularly the ones that have been released once and were released with, say, a R&D pack or some sort of other non-lockbox way, and really good. They're going to hold high value and will not make the exchange probably for a long time, if ever. And how are you going to do that trade? You're going to do that trade in game, or how are you going to broker that? I think that there's a market here that Cryptic is kind of creating by ignoring the problem.
And the problem is that there's the 500 mil limit on the exchange. Bumping up that limit.
It's also your account bank. Your account bank has a limit of 500 million. One of the things that I do, I have to be very careful about what I'm selling and what character and things like that. If you're selling things at 300-400 million on a constant basis, you have to really be careful about what you have on the exchange and how much EC you have, because it's not like there's an overflow bag for EC. You hit the 9999. I probably lost a billion EC in 2015 because I sold something and had too much money in my account on my character at the same time. So there's a lot of caps that come into play that the higher end of the wealth people in the game run into. The caps are creating really big problems, particularly as the value of items goes up. But the value of items is going up because the game itself, Star Trek Online, is doing well. Cryptic is making big bucks. Anybody who thinks that, this thing is going to close in the next 2 years, they're out of their freaking mind. This game is making very good money. Season 11, they'll probably have a dip because they may have some earning problems with the two things that we've seen with their most recent earners. But we'll know, and quite frankly, they may not, because the truth is, some of the collectors, the people who like the Vomp at 900 million, the people who will actually pay for that, there's a lot of those type of folks in the game. They're not actually looking for the stats. They're more collectors than anything. It's like the museum crowd that exists in STO.
Okay, I agree. But I think if you take the exchange cap off, if you remove the 500 mil cap and bump it up to a billion, or $1.5 billion, or whatever the arbitrary number is, that's more than 500 million. I believe that will drive down the prices. People will be able to actually post and compete with the prices. Right now, there really isn't any competition. You have to go to the trade channel and you have to pay whatever they're asking. You can't actually negotiate. People will sell them one at a time and they will hoard them. Increasing the cap will, let more people post these ridiculous ships. And I'll be frank here. I'm going to be brutally honest here. The VOMF, comparing it to the limited time ships like the Cheshire, the Anoraks, the Strike Ship, the Bulwark, is just fucking retarded. Excuse my language. The VOMF is not a limited time ship. It is not. Let me be clear. Let me repeat myself. It is not a limited time ship. We're going to have this ship for 3 months, and after that, we're going to be seeing it pop up every 3 months after that. And as we showed at the top of the show, its drop rate is 1 in 400, which is not crazy. It's actually about half, or a little bit better than half, what the regular Grand Prize ships are. So it is not that rare.
400? Wait a minute. No, that doesn't make sense, Cam. You're talking about it costs 150 more keys to obtain this item. And you're expecting people to buy this lockbox at the same rate of previous lockboxes, even though this lockbox is the worst lockbox in at least 2 years. I don't think you're going to have as many VOMPs as you think. That ship, people are not going to open this lockbox. I mean, you're throwing your money away if you do. I don't think buyers are dumb. They certainly haven't ever proven to be dumb in stuff, because the economy runs extremely well in this game.
I don't know. The other ships in the pack, like the Quas, is actually fantastic. And if its drop rate is actually better than the normal lockbox ship drop rate, it's comparable to a Tier 5 mirror ship drop rate, and it is a fantastic ship. Some of the guys here has actually tested it out and can confirm and back me up on this. Then yeah, people will open the box. We'll open the boxes, and like you said, there are collectors who want to get this ship. So these boxes are going to continue being open for the next 3 months. I don't see that as being a problem.
I don't either, considering that there are entire fleets who have pooled money, got keys, and start popping open boxes left and right. Now, granted, most of them haven't gotten anything, just as spectacular as a VOMP, but they did get ships, and they're enjoying it.
I mean, just look at all the giveaways we've seen in the past week. I know Rahami Star Chaser gave away a few ships not too long ago. Nabriki is actually doing a competition right now, giving away ships, and that one's actually a little bit hilarious. Loot Critter did a giveaway not too long ago, and Odin did a giveaway last night, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit later. And we're going to be doing the show itself. We're going to be doing some giveaways.
Correct.
So the ships are there; they are available. So you know what? I think we've talked a little bit.
Because the truth is, we'll know. We'll know whether or not the lockboxes are being opened, not based upon the message that scrolls across your screen, but based upon the price of the lockbox keys. Because people buy lockbox keys to sell and make EC, and if they're unable to sell, they'll continue to lower the prices until they can find a buyer. We'll know. I mean, as a player, you'll know. Certainly, at 5 million today, if it starts getting back down to the 2.3, 2.4 range, you'll know that nobody is opening lockboxes.
Agreed, but they hit 6.8 million, so we know keys are being sold like crazy. And
the
thing is, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but the keys hit 5 million and above during a key sale. So people were buying keys. They were buying keys by the buttload and opening ships and selling them on the market to open ships and stuff. So the market was there. There was a market flow.
I'll give you an example. Maybe that caught you as something new. I'll give you a great example. During the Year of Hell lockbox, in the first week, I would bet that Cryptic had their best sales week ever. I would bet a keg of beer right here. And the reason I say that is because I can recall putting up 400 keys and selling them. I was putting them up in batches of like 40, but I couldn't put them up fast enough, okay? And I was selling them at well over 4 million at a time when 4 million was considered really high. And I was doing 4.3, 4.4, just kind of kept creeping the prices up. The exchange ran out of lockbox keys during the Year of Hell lockbox. Can you ever recall the exchange running out of lockbox keys? I mean, I was throwing them up there so fast I had to change characters so that I didn't exceed my EC limit and then just keep going. It's not lockbox events. They're always crazy. That's the beauty of them. People who don't participate, I got news for you, man. You're missing the biggest bonanza the game has. The lockboxes are brilliant. So saying they go to 5-6 million, that didn't surprise me. And Cryptic makes a fortune during those first weeks. It's what happens after the second week is over when you have to start paying attention to how valuable a lockbox is. That's why the Year of Hell lockbox was so brilliant. The value stayed up through the entire thing. The key prices stayed at 4 million because people were still buying keys to get that lockbox. We'll find out how good the player community thinks the Herald lockbox is. But we've seen this before, and we've seen the lockbox drop when the lockbox quality was low.
The other thing was with the Year of Hell lockbox. That's the lockbox that the Imperial Krenim warship came in, and that is hands down one of the best ships in the game. I mean, I think pretty much only the Scimitar can compare to it. This might be a little bit better.
Lockbox isn't judged by the ship. If you judge lockboxes by ships, I think you've missed what a...
I understand, but this is just one example. This is like the diamond in the center of the crown, so to speak. There might be other gems in the crown, but people are going to focus on that one big diamond in the center of the crown. If you get my example.
No, I don't think that the people who are buying lockbox keys, I think it's the perception but not the reality that they're looking for the ship. Most people don't. They don't expect to be able to do it because they're only throwing, say, I'm only going to get 50 keys. I'm only going to get 20 keys. It'd be great if I get it, but the R&D packs, for example, that's a great boost for most players. I think when people get R&D packs, and particularly when they're getting the plus for the pluses, the little what do they call it?
The accelerators.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff is money, big time money, and it really helps you improve the quality of your ship. From a player perspective, there are so many things. The traits are a great example, particularly the Klingon traits, because they're so much rarer than the Fed traits. Everybody opens lockbox keys on their Fed character, but you forget if you open it on your Klingon character, and you already got the traits for your Fed character, the Klingon traits sell for 3 times as more because people play Klingon, and the Romulans too. They're harder to get, and those things are worth more. So there's a lot of things about a lockbox that are much bigger than the ship. Your entire return on investment depends on what isn't the ship.
I agree with that, but that is only a portion of the community. That is only a portion of people who buy the keys. There are people who...
That's the majority, Kim. That's what people...
All right, whether it's the majority or a minority, it's not something we can actually quantify. We don't have the numbers, all right? We can only assume and speculate on that.
But 150 lockboxes. How many people do you know threw $150 a lockbox?
I know people who actually do spend money on lockboxes, keys, but they do not open lockboxes. My point is, there are people who buy keys in order to sell them in order to buy ship, and there are a lot of people who do that. Not everyone is buying keys to open lockboxes. Some people do, but the assumption is you don't open the lockboxes for the ship. You buy the lockboxes and you open them for the lobby or to get one of the other prizes, or you can just sell the keys and make the money that way and get the ship. For the people who actually want the ship, you don't go opening lock boxes for that because it's ridiculous. You'll most likely never get the ship unless you are spending hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, to buy the keys. So there are people who, when the lockbox comes out and there's a special ship that drops out of the lockbox, whether it's the grand prize or the lobby, they'll just spend real money on keys and sell them on the exchange to make the EC in order to, buy the ship. Whether they're a minority or a majority or whatever, we can speculate all day till the cows come home. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that these people exist in the game.
I'm one of them. Hi, my name is Alan. Nice to meet you.
No, I'm one of those players too who uses it for other things. But how much value you get from a key is completely dependent upon the current lockbox.
We're not in a disagreement there. So I want to jump on to the next topic. We're still talking about the economy, and the question I want to pose here for you, the other hosts as well, and the people who are listening in on the chat, is there seems to be a bit of inflation going on, just a little bit of inflation. Do you think this inflation is causing an economic depression in STO? Is the economy crashing, the in-game economy?
I think it could. I don't know if it fully has yet, but I think it could in the near future, just by the sheer prices of what's going on comparative to what the average player can afford. It's going to a point where the average player is going to look at the exchange and go, the hell with this, and then nothing sells on the exchange that most people would really want just based on prices. And a really good example of that I can use is the lockbox in less than the plasmonic leech. In less than a year, plasmonic leeches have gone from 15 million to 100 million as a spike, but they're averaging still about 90. It's something that's just gone above and beyond what most people could afford, even if they grinded for a significant amount of time. And it's to the point now where even if they ground for that amount, by the time they have that amount, it will be once again out of their reach.
There are quite a lot of things that are probably hurting the players. For example, the fleet ship modules are now pretty much above the free-to-play player.
Yeah, they're above the free-to-play player cap now.
They've been above the cap for a while, though.
They're at what now, though? They're at what, 15 million approaching? Anyone have access to an exchange to see how much they cost? This is just an example. There are a lot of items that were cheap and common before
They used to sit around in the early days of them being introduced, they used to sit around the 3-4 million EC mark, didn't they?
Initially, but I think the longest time they were sitting at between like 8-9 million or around that mark. Then
16.9 mil for fleet module right now.
That is ridiculous.
And I'm guessing that does have something to do with the Admiralty system as well. Ooh, 16.9, that's a little bit crazy.
Okay, so one of the things I would add is that you kind of have to define what a recession would be in STO. And I've written about this before in my column on Priority 1. A recession in STO would be people no longer want to buy stuff because they can't afford it, as you put it. But it depends on what type of currency you're discussing. In the EC, is it dilithium? Is it Zen? So it also depends upon your point of view. In my opinion, I think the game is always in recession the higher the dilithium exchange value goes. The higher dilithium is on the exchange. I think that's how you measure it because it impacts everything. When dilithium is selling at 240, 250, economic slowdown should be expected because the EC price's equivalency, you can usually tell in the contraband price, by the way, if you're ever looking for just a barometer. Everything gets so expensive it becomes very difficult to afford the things that a lifetime player who's played for as long as I have, or not even that long. I mean, I've played since beta, but if you've played since like season 2, you have a pretty good wealth of stuff that you can always draw upon that will keep you going through the slower economic times. And then I would describe when the exchange, like when we had the lithium price down, which has actually been almost 2 years ago now. It's been a long time. Not quite 2 years. I think we're looking at 22 months. When it was down below an average in the 150 area. I think we even had it much lower, but 150 area was kind of an average. The economic boom in the game was incredible, and it was incredible because you had so much purchasing power for your dilithium. But as soon as they changed the paradigm, and I forget the executive producer that they had before Salami Inferno, but he did it. The thing that he did in the game is that he basically flooded the game with dilithium in every possible way, and now that everybody has so much of it, I mean, I think Odin said he had over 1 million unrefined, that you're just never going to run out. That's driving your prices. As long as the exchange rate is high for dilithium, you're always going to have kind of a recession, depending upon how high it goes. As long as it keeps fluctuating to say, like, I think we've gone between 230 and 240, 225 to 250.
It's beneficial to cryptic. Don't see any reason why they want it low.
That's exactly right. That was, by the way, probably the reason Daniel Stahl goes with philosophy, but he was brought in for that legacy of Romulus stuff where they're trying to influx the game with new players. In order to get new players into the game, they had to reduce the prices in-game. The value of everything that you did in-game was very high so that new players could come in and thrive. And a lot of people consider that legacy Romulus period to be the point where you could do the most, you had the most purchasing power. And because it literally was true. But when they got to Delta Rising, for example, or the Delta season, it wasn't targeted for new players at all. It was targeted to the existing top-level player, which means, you're a wealthy dude. We are going to make sure that you're paying out your ass for everything. And it goes with the philosophy. If they ever say, hey, we're going to have a new season announced that's targeting the new player, they're probably going to do something that reduces the dynamics of the economy because they have to put purchasing power into the new player's hands. And we haven't seen anything like that lately. I mean, all the new content is centered around the veteran player.
Agreed. And in my opinion, it seems to have gotten a little bit out of hand. That's just my opinion, though. Some people might share in that opinion, but I think the prices on pretty much everything in the game has got to be, I will say the word punishing to newer players and players who don't actually have that much liquid EC with them.
Well, there's evidence. I mean, we've talked about it. The caps on the exchange, the economy has outgrown the mechanics.
Agreed. That's actually a very good point right there. So I think this is going to wrap up this talk about the economy. We've been going at it for about an hour or so. I'm pretty sure we have a lot more to talk about. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we go on to the next topic?
Just going to agree with it. I mean, it's gotten out of hand. Something's got to give.
All right. Odin's mic is having issues, so we're gonna jump on to the next segment. which is completely unrelated to the economy. So, Timber, if you can just take that away for us, please.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to forgive me because some of this topic is not STO related, but in a way it is. So bear with me. Just this past week, CBS announced that we have a new Star Trek TV series coming in 2017. Now, this was huge news. It's something that a lot of us have been wanting for years, just something from CBS, because most of what we're getting is either JJ Trek, as it's been, I guess, not very politely termed, or we have a lot of fandom being made, which some of the fandom has actually been fairly decent. So to hear that CBS is actually pinning and putting out a new TV series has been fantastic to hear. Now, it has its own issues, and we're not going to get into that because that's been really a sore topic on some of the things they are doing conjecture on. But when it pertains to us as STO players is it led to Cryptic coming out the moment the announcement was made and saying, we're going to reward all of you guys for this awesome announcement. They gave us a double XP week for this week that we've just had, and they did the NX era pack giveaway to kind of celebrate the last TV show that was on the air, which was Star Trek Enterprise. And that was a very nice thing to do. Yes, it's a tier 1 starship and some costumes, but it was a nice gesture, and it was something that, it was good to see. It was celebrating something that we've all wanted as Star Trek fans. This was their way of doing it. Me personally, I was wanting to get the NX class, for my lower level characters as I make them, and, well, Admiralty card, and it's a free Admiralty card. For most players, it's been the double XP weekend. It's been, a lot easier to level up your tunes, especially with this Admiralty system unlocked for your higher tier tunes. It's been really nice. I mean, that's what I've got on my sheets. Care to add anything else, guys?
We also have the 2 times XP weekend going. That's pretty beneficial. That was extended. I'm actually really excited about the new show. However, I believe none of the characters we know about Star Trek characters are actually going to be in it. It's going to be a completely new series. Although there are rumors of Worf being involved somehow. I don't know if that's confirmed or still up in the air, but yeah, that's Michael Dorn. If he's, we're still not quite sure if he's in there or not.
Yeah, there's a lot of conjecture going on as far as what them saying, hey, there's going to be a new show out. But the good thing is people are, and they want to know what's going on. That's been the number one thing I've been pulling for this.
And when is it going to happen? Which year? Are we going to be in 2410, like the current timeline? Or are we going to be at some point just right after Voyager returned? It's really unknown. Is it going to involve the Enterprise, or are we going to get a new iconic ship? Unknown. So it's still, what, a year away?
Yeah, a year and a half, honestly, because if they were to go on standard TV show Dogma, you'd have to wait till September, which I could see them possibly doing something like that just as a throwback to start it in September, the same way the original show started. So it's, hell, even the release date's in conjecture. I don't know. I just would love to know more.
Indeed. I would be interested in seeing if they actually take some of the ships that are in STO and put them in the show. That would be interesting. But what I really want, what I would really absolutely explode and start giggling like a little schoolgirl, if they get Mr. Raidmaker in there and have him design ships. If you guys don't know who Raidmaker is, he is the designer of the Vesta class ship.
Oh yeah.
If they can actually get him in there, that would be absolutely fantastic. Moneybags, what are your opinions on the on this announcement?
Well, one of the things that bugged me a little bit was the announcement that they're going to have the first show on CBS, and then they're going to have the subsequent episodes on the streaming service. And I
Yeah.
don't own the CBS streaming service, or maybe I do, and it's a part of my video on demand, and I don't know it. But there seems to be some confusion there that I'm not going to pay $6 to see it. Hopefully, it would end up on Netflix, I guess, because CBS. I mean, come on, there's so many competing streaming services right now between Amazon Prime and Netflix and all these other things that set up a little bit of a red flag. But it may be something where I can see it video on demand. I have FiOS, so if it's part of the FiOS service, then I'm gold, and I'll be as excited as anybody. But if it's gated behind a specific streaming service, that would concern me.
And I think we've already seen from various posts on Facebook and social media that people would be willing to sign petitions and protest just to make for sure that it's not gated behind one specific streaming service. And it really shouldn't be.
I'll just look for it on icefilms.info or the Pirate Bay if that's the case. Because A, I'm in Canada, so half those things like Hula and all that stuff, or a lot of the good stuff that's on Netflix US, I don't get. And yeah, I'm not paying another service. Even if I could get it up here, I'm not paying another service $7 a month just for one show. Like, I love Star Trek and all, but yeah, no. Somebody will upload that stuff to the internet, so I'll grab it from there if that's the case.
The only other show that I'm aware of that was intended as a streaming service and then when it went mainstream was Mr. Robot, but I think that was NBC that did that with USA Network. The first episode is only available from Amazon Prime, and then the subsequent episodes were eventually put on USA Network, and that's a great show. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I think that might be the model for you have an instant classic, and I would imagine that the following for Star Trek is much larger than that of something like Mr. Robot. So CBS may be trying to use Star Trek as a way to promote its streaming service, but in the end, money often wins. And if it's a big hit, it'll move to the mainstream programming of one of their Viacom or whoever owns CBS now.
Absolutely.
One of their networks.
And as is tradition with Star Trek fans, something we see on the forums quite often, there are already people who are complaining bitterly about this new show, even though we have next to no information about it. I saw a couple of blogs out there, and I just find it a little bit amusing that they've already went in that direction.
Yeah, but it's not unexpected. It's new. They don't know anything about it. So let's take a dump on it, even though it could end up being something that the fan base has been asking for years. And there are projects out there that could be considered that were original fan bases that they might just say, okay, y'all like that, we'll throw your money behind that, and that way it's something that's made by us of high quality, but we already know the fans like. So
you mean shitting all over things isn't confined to the STO forums? Oh my god.
It's pretty much just we have to wait and see. We have to reserve judgment like we do here on the show about things. We have to wait because we have no idea what it's going to look like a year and a half from now, and that's what we have to look at. It's a year and a half. We have no details whatsoever. So to pass judgment on a show that we know literally nothing about, not even what the title will be, much less what the content of it will be, is ridiculous at best.
I bet you 10 million EC that the name Star Trek will be in the main title.
Not necessarily. Let's use Star Trek Enterprise as an example. The first two seasons it was simply Enterprise, and Star Trek was simply implied.
That's right. That's right.
So
All right. Well, speaking about reserving judgment and waiting till we actually get to see something before we make any comments, something we skipped out on last week, we're going to bring it up this week, is the Admiralty system. We're going to be talking about this now. Some of its nuances and suggestions, perhaps. Spencer, are you awake or did you fall asleep?
Somehow I'm awake.
aw.
Could you give us some? You've been really far ahead of most of us in the Admiralty system. I believe you've hit 10 out of 10 in one of
The
the.
tour of duty. Yeah. I've got level 8 on both Fed and KDF on a few tunes now. And just Romulans and KDF, they get the short end of the stick here.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah,
Is there even a stick?
So I'm glad Cryptic is sticking with the status quo of Romulans and KDF getting screwed over. Sorry, continue.
The system highlights the extreme lack of science ships for both factions, especially when you get multiple 100, 150 plus psi requirement Admiralty missions, and you've got about 3 or 4 psi ships you can easily get a hold of and use.
This is entirely true.
So how many psi ships can you actually get on a KDF or a Romulan in the first place? Let's see. You get let's start with the Klingons, for example. You get the Vokuv, the Mirror Vokuv, the Fleet Vokuv. That's 3. Then you have the 4 science destroyers. Am I missing something?
Yeah, you've pretty much got that covered there.
Pretty much.
Well, it
Oh,
depends
right.
on how
There's the Gorn ones. Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I've had to play around with it a little bit because a lot of my characters are KDF characters that are earners. In fact, the way that I play, I have a lifetime account, and then I have a free-to-play account, and that allows me to gauge the economy from 2 different perspectives as a player and then within the player-based economy. Moneybags is actually not my lifetime account. It's my free-to-play account. And that account is Moneybags is the only Federation character, obviously the Ferengi, and then he has all of these employees, as I would call them, and they're all KDF characters that are earners. And I look at the Admiralty system as another feature of the earning potential for Moneybags. So one of the things that I did is I went out and I spent about 400 and something thousand dilithium and 100 million EC, and I bought all of the mirror ships for the KDF, and I bought several of the lockbox ships like the Malon and those type of things, and then I bought all of the white ships for the Klingons. So you still have the science problem. I mean, obviously the Mirror Vokuv is a great science ship, and you can pick up a few of the ones that you've gotten over time with that are basically the free ships, but you still have the science problem. So that comes into play where there's actually 5 options. There's the 3 Dyson ships, and then there's the Karfi, the Carrier, which is a pretty good science ship, and then there's the Fleet Karfi. So those are really your 5 options, and it depends on how many KDF characters you have on your account that you want in terms of if you're going to spend any Zen or anything to buy, which way you go. So if you have a bunch of KDF characters, you basically spend the 5,000 Zen and you buy the 3 Dyson ships, and now you've got 3 great Admiralty Dyson science ships for your KDF. But if you only have 2, you may spend the lesser amount, which I think is like 2,000 for the Karfi. I'd have to look it up. And then the 500 for the fleet upgrade or fleet module. And then you'd basically be able to get the 2 ships for a much lower price. So I don't know. I mean, I think that obviously the system exposes the holes for KDF, and I don't have a lot of Romulans, so I don't really know that whole problem very well. But I think that there are options, particularly like all my KDF characters have already reached level 5 in both Fed and Empire, Klingon Empire tier. So what happens is I have 7 slots. Well, I can go through the 7 slots for my earners in my morning daily and then my evening daily, and I'm able to slot all 7 slots with the white ships, the mirror ships, the free ships that we've gotten over time, and then a handful of the ships that I own on the account pretty successfully. But you're still dealing with only between 25 and 30 ships, and you're never going to be able to get more than that unless you spend Zen. That's the cap. That's how the system works. And I read somewhere Bordicus was saying that he doesn't expect to sell ships with this system, but I would disagree. The system is so well done that if I was Cryptic, I would be thinking, yes, we're going to sell ships with this system because as long as they're able to keep the XP levels high, because the specialization experience has changed something that has been the biggest problem, in my opinion, in all of 2015, and that's leveling alts. The ability to level alts with the Admiralty system is what that system really represents in terms of the gameplay now.
Interesting points there. I think as people have been pointing out in chat, pardon me, I just have to clear a bit of gravel from my throat. The Romulans are actually worse off than the Klingons. They don't really have any low-level warbirds that are science ships. What do we have? The Hanam, the Mirror Hanam, and the 4 science destroyers?
And there's the Fleet Hanam, but if I recall, I don't have one to test myself, but the Fleet Hanam has the exact same stats as the Free Hanam you get while leveling. So
Lovely.
they get screwed over there.
That's what, 6 ships then?
Yep.
7. Sorry, that's 7 ships. My math is bad. So you get there. I think the problem isn't just the lack of science ships. That is a glaring problem, obviously. That is obviously a big problem for both KDF and Romulan players. And the other problem is that as a Fed character, I think you can hit something like 190 plus Admiralty cards. Whereas if you're a Klingon or a Romulan, you're in the half of that, maybe like 90 cards, 90 to 100 cards. So it is obviously very much skewed, biased towards the Federation, which is...
If you have all of the C-store ships, if I recall, for Fed, it's right around 90 from that. Then if you pick up all the fleet ones, Feds get it pretty easy.
The best suggestion that I actually heard earlier tonight before we went live in the DPS at Night channel, which was that Cryptic should sell cards for individual ships like the USS Hood or the USS Yamato or the USS Yorktown, so that you have a specialty ship with this captain who's badass and he's got his own little mods and all this other stuff. To me, that seems like something you could monetize, and I would probably buy if it wasn't like outrageous. But just for an Admiralty card, I'd pay 100 or 200 or something like that Zen per card. That's not a bad idea. I think that's a really clever idea. And then at that point, if you're doing individual ships, and maybe they have longer maintenance times, I don't know. But if you're doing individual ships, you could imagine a scenario where the artist just goes crazy and creates these amazing ships over time.
Okay, you cut out a little bit there, but I do like that idea. That is actually a fantastic idea of being able to purchase ships or purchase specific cards. It doesn't have to be Zen, though. How about we use the Gold Press Latinum, for example? That is an underused.
Absolutely.
We seem to have lost money bags, so hopefully we'll get them back shortly.
I think they could make just a ton of money off of having you buy a little Admiralty card pack, and it gives you a bunch of one-time use cards, and has a really rare chance at a card that you'll get permanently. That could sell really well.
Basically, turn it into a trading card game of some kind.
Yes, that would be very profitable.
Yeah. Well, I hope. I really like the gold pressed platinum idea.
Yeah, it's a currency that's really doesn't have a real use when it comes to your duty officers, the Admiralty, buying gear for your ships. It's just, from what I understand, hollow emitters and trophies for the most part. So it'd be nice to use that, and you could buy your cards, and then that way you have something similar to real life where you're using your cash to buy trading cards. I would get behind that in a heartbeat.
Any other issues with the Admiralty system? Any advice for people listening in about the Admiralty system?
If you encounter some very high requirement missions and you don't have the ships to throw at it, just throw like a Miranda at it. Take the hit. It's only got a 30-minute cooldown.
I have a question because I didn't really read all the documentation for the Admiralty system because, well, who has time for reading, right? I noticed a few times when I bring up the Admiralty window, it'll say, for example, 30 TAC, 30 Eng, 30 Science, and then you open it up, and then the values are different, like the required values.
Yes,
what is that?
That changes based if there's events. Like, for example, there's one, the Borg Transwarp Gate, which is, if I recall, plus 50 to all stats. Those can be pretty painful. You get some also, though, that will lower the maintenance times and sometimes lower the requirements. So it works both ways, but most of the time it's going to increase the requirements.
Yeah, I've seen some increase like all the way up to like 200 for each, and I'm like, I don't have the ships to do this. So that might change a little bit once the dry dock feature is introduced, because I have a bunch of like low buy ships that I don't want to discard, and I have all these sea store ships that I don't use on like my main. So hopefully once they get that system up and running, it'll be a little bit easier to get these Admiralty things clicked off for me.
Syndrestries points out in chat that you can hover over the event box and it will tell you what kind of modifiers they have. I believe some of the interesting modifiers that pop up is like plus 200 crit chance or crit, whatever it is.
Yes.
Those are really nice. One thing I do recommend for you, if you see something that has 200 to all stats, or that's a little bit ridiculous, but 100 to all stats or 150 to all stats, you don't have to max out all three of the treks there. You can do one or two of them and get to, a reasonable success chance with this two, like maybe 80%, 85%, 90%, and it'll still pass. Heck, you can even just throw a low-level ship in there and get a chance to pass from like a really low level. So it's not really that important to actually cover everything. So let's jump on to the next topic and discussing some of the items very briefly that we get from the Herald lockbox this time. We're going to be talking about the ships, and then we'll talk about several of the gear items that pop up from there. So let's start with the ships first of all, and give each one of you a chance to discuss, give like a brief opinion on each of the ships if you've had a chance to try them out. And Timberwolf, if you could lead us off, please.
Well, I've only had a chance to try out one of the lockbox ships and the Lobby offering. The Quas flight deck cruiser, I'm not used to a flight deck cruiser, but I was thoroughly impressed by that starship. I will be flying it more often. I do love that particular cruiser. The Baltam flies, and I will use the analogy correctly, it flies like a bat out of hell. It is amazingly maneuverable. It's almost to the point as far as what some people have seen for the pilot ships, that fun level, because it's amazingly fast, and its turn rate will make you do donuts. It's almost like the last Starfighter Death Blossom once it's properly geared out. For the Vomp, I can only go on what I've seen my friends play with that say, and what I've heard them say is not pretty, so I will leave that blank.
Okay, thank you. Alan, have you had a chance to try out any of the Herald chips?
No, they're too expensive. I honestly, I don't feel like throwing money at lockbox keys right at the moment, and trying to get them on the exchange is a little crazy. Maybe I'll get lucky on my birthday, but yeah, ask me again in a couple of months. I'll let you know. But if I was to zero in on a ship, it would be that the whatchamacallit, the frigate, the one Timber was just talking about. That's out of
The
low
Quas?
buy. The Quas. That's out of
No.
low buy, right?
No,
No,
the Lobby is the
Baltam.
Baltam Raider.
The Raider, sorry. Yeah, that's the one that if I wanted any of the three, I'd be going after that one. So I might try going after that. I don't know. It's holiday season, so I'm starting to kind of put my money aside for presents and stuff like that. And I might buy the new T6 Defiant. We'll see, but I don't have any opinions of any of the ships. Sorry.
That's a good enough opinion. Spencer, I know you've tried several of the ships as well. I think some of them on Tribble.
Yeah, I have the Quas and Baltam on holodeck, and I got the Vomp on Tribble. I'll start out with the Vomp. I was hoping to get a ship to replace my Krenim Imperium warship for DPS on my Fed TAC. I was hoping it'd be the Vomp, but after doing some runs with it over on Tribble, just some random patrols, it is just... I couldn't even see myself spending, honestly, 250 mil on it. It is just so underperforming compared to what I expected. The Quas is, I would definitely say it's a better ship. It's not the highest DPS ship out there, but it makes a great tank, and it's fun to fly. But the Baltam, the Baltam is, as Timber said, it moves just amazingly well. It's capable of hitting some nice numbers. It's not going to beat the Krenim. None of them will, but it is very fun to fly. And I'd recommend it to anyone looking to get any of the ships.
Thank you. As for myself, I played with the Baltam, and I've played with the Vomp itself. Hey, Moneybags, you're back. We're actually just discussing the Herald ships at the moment. Have you actually had any chance to play with the ships themselves? I guess he's still logging in. So I'll continue.
No, I just have
Go ahead, please.
briefly.
All right. So I played with the Baltam first of all, and let me tell you, this ship is a lot of fun to fly. I think in my video, I made a video of it. I think this is probably the highest rated ship I've ever reviewed. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10, and it deserves it. It is really fun to fly. It's really fast, but it does take some skill. And yes, some of you who've seen the videos are a little bit annoyed at me for putting beam arrays on that ship, but beam squirts is a lot of fun. It does work out. Beam arrays, dual beam banks, cannons, torpedoes, whatever you throw on the ship, they will all work out. Um, you it can underperform in certain circumstances because it only has 6 weapons on it, but it does have a fantastic ability to flank. It has the enhanced raider flanking, which is better than normal flanking,
Yes.
up 33%, and then you have the console which you throw on, which practically doubles the bonus that you get from it. The only problem I have with the console was the 3-second wind-up time. Other than that, the ship is really great. This is how a Tier 6 Raider should be. And remember that comment because we're gonna be coming back to Tier 6 Raiders in very shortly. The VOF. You know what? I've been meaning to do a video review of the VOF, and I've been putting it off because honestly, it is a little bit disappointing. There are some real problems I have with the ship, some big problems. The biggest problem is its size. The ship really is too big. So if you get the VOF and you're playing on default settings, whatever, in the game, you jump in the ship, you go out into space, and all you can see is the VOF. It blocks out the game entirely. You cannot see. You scroll all the way back, scroll as far back as you can, and the VOF still takes out the majority of your screen. So you basically have to input a command to change your field of view in order to be able to see the game. So that is a problem. When you have a ship in the game that blocks your view of the game, that is something I consider serious. The VOF is bigger than any ship out there. I mean, I sat next to a Cheshire, and it was like twice the size. It took up twice the volume of the Cheshire. Set region info space 75. I actually have it up to 80. I think it was Valakin that suggested it. And even at the field of view 80 degrees, the VOF takes up, even at maximum zoom, the VOF takes out a portion of the screen at the center. And I still find myself having to use a top-down view, a 3/4 top-down view, like Diablo, for example, in order to see stuff around me, and that makes it a little bit difficult to fly. It is slow. It is really slow. It's hard to turn. The frigate pets are lazy. That's the only way I can describe them, is that they're lazy. They do follow you around, which is good, better than some of the other pets out there, and they're just really slow at it. Yeah, the isometric view. It's what's required to actually be able to see the game, and it makes it actually difficult to fly around and target and use your abilities. And the ship itself doesn't seem to perform so well. Here's the thing. It's a dreadnought carrier, so it competes with the Jem'Hadar dreadnought carrier and the Narcine dreadnought carrier. And both of those ships, although they're tier 5, seem to outperform this ship, probably because they're a little bit faster and they can get into range and position themselves better. So I could go on for quite a bit about this ship and how disappointed I am about it. It's just not worth it. Yeah, it's really a disappointment. Anyone else have any comments about the ships? In that case, we'll move on to the next comment. The items from the lockbox, we have just one item here that's mentioned in our show notes. There's a couple more I would like to add to that, but starting off with the Universal Console, the Polymorphic Probe Array. Have you guys tried that out yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
I have not.
You're breaking up a little bit there, Moneybags.
I said I haven't tried it yet. I'm very curious to see if it's any good.
Okay. My experience with it, what I did is I threw it on one of my ships, and this is a ship with 5 tactical consoles, anti-proton locator consoles, and I think my power settings were at weapon power was at 123 approximately, and it gave me about 4% effective anti-proton damage boost, which seems to be a little bit better, but not much, over the Lobby consoles, such as the Bioneural Infusion Circuit and the Tachyokinetic Converter. Now, keep in mind the effective bonus will change depending on what other bonuses you have, because there is such thing as bonus dilution. So the bonus itself is a Category 1 bonus. So the more Category 1 bonuses you have, the more diluted it will be. So for example, if you're on a ship with only 3 tactical slots, you're going to get a better or bigger effective bonus from the Polymorphic Probe Array. If you're a captain, a Romulan captain, for example, you have a lot of crit chance, crit severity. Your Lobby consoles are going to not be as effective as, say, a Federation captain with low crit severity, low crit chance. So those vary. But the point is, the Polymorphic Probe Array is actually a decent console, and I believe it's fairly cheap on the market as well. Anyone have a price check for me for the Polymorphic Probe Array? While we're waiting for that,
5.2 million is the cheapest right now.
okay,
That's not bad.
that's actually pretty decent. It's I do recommend it. I've played around with it. So if you have the chance, just for the anti-proton damage, it's nice. And the probes themselves, the Iconian probes, are certainly interesting. Oh shit, I gotta do something, and click it, and might take some heat off you for a little bit, as well as scramble your enemies a little bit. Spencer, have you had a chance to play with it yet?
I had it on in many runs, but I haven't actually clicked and launched the probes that much. But in the runs that I have, I've noticed I'm doing a few hundred DPS, so it's definitely much better than a Lobby console, in my opinion.
Indeed. Some of the other stuff that I noticed in the from the block box that I found interesting are the actual modules, the universal modules. I absolutely love them, especially the Solar Gateway. That is a lot of fun. We had in the past weekend there was the stream that Reddit chat did for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Children's Make-A-Wish Foundation. I joined them for parts of that, and there was about 2 or 3 of us who had the Solar Gateway equipped, and I think we were giggling the whole time every time we were doing ground queues. It is absolutely hilarious when you have 3 of those going at the same time. It's actually a really good module. The turret is good. Having a turret on my tactical character is fantastic. The other 2 also are fairly decent kits, or I should say modules. The gravity bomb one is pretty sweet. Yes, it is. They're all really good. I think they actually did fairly well with the modules. What do you guys think? Have you had a chance to try them out?
I've tried out the gravimetric trap explosions and the gravity bombs and the overcharge turret. I've found those very fun to play with on the ground.
Yeah, I played with the ground stuff too. I think they're all fun, kind of neat. Actually, I don't know that I will use any of them, but I played around with them. Does that make sense? I'm not sure that there's something that I would keep on my kits, but they're interesting.
Spencer?
I haven't had a chance to mess with them yet. I'm not much of a ground fan.
You know what? I absolutely am not a ground fan, and these kits have kind of sold me on that. There is a little bit of fun.
I do so much ground that I think the best ground combat is the exchange.
Okay. The other interesting thing in the lockbox are those staff weapons. The Lobby ones are absolutely fantastic.
The Lobby ones are amazing.
I want one of those.
But the ones from the lockbox itself are actually really, really good. I love it. They're absolutely fantastic. I lucked out and got a damage times 3 one, and I upgraded it. And when it upgraded, it went to a damage times 4. I haven't gotten it to epic yet, but I'm absolutely loving it. Choose the exchange. Yeah, especially when you're wearing the costume. It's actually it is a lot of fun. Any other comments on any of the items? Anyone want to bring something up before we move on to the next topic?
For the armor, though, Happy Mortal has a really nice guide on it versus the fleet armor on STO builds, I believe, if anyone wants to check that out.
The ground and space traits have been pretty nice to play with.
Oh, yes.
Considering there's the ground and space traits, you have a ground and space version of basically temporary hit points, and then you also have on outgoing critical hits a plus 50% shield pin for beams and projectiles. Those particular traits have been really nice to play with.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are probably the two best items in the lockbox as far as a cha-ching feeling when you land them.
Absolutely.
They are a little bit of fun. Okay, so I'm going to skip some of the notes we have here, and I want to bring up the Tier 6 Faction Escort Pack.
Ducking for cover. Ducking for cover.
So who wants to lead off with this conversation?
Well, let's just observe the facts. I mean, have you read the Facebook post for it? Did you check out what the comments were there? The feedback that they immediately got? Did you see the Reddit thread?
Hold on. I think we were supposed to restart the stream so Odin can get in on this conversation as well.
We do want Odin on here.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So let me see what Odin's typing out here.
Looks like we're going to take a 5-minute break so Odin can get restarted, and we'll be back.
Yeah, everybody, go stretch your legs, take a
hang
leak,
tight.
grab a beer or a drink or an appletini, and we will be back. There's lots to be said about this one.
You don't want to miss this.